What is data storytelling and why it is important? Data storytelling is a methodology for communicating information tailored to a specific audience with a compelling narrative. Data stories help you communicate key insights clearly and compellingly, which will drive changes and inspiring action in business. Data storytelling is ultimately about understanding context and inspiring change or action. When data analysts review and present their data, a story can help them communicate complex ideas and simplify the decision-making process for stakeholders. A picture will tell 1,000 words, but what about a graph or chart? A good graph or chart can show as much as several paragraphs of words. When it comes to presenting and explaining data charts, graphs, and diagrams, you should be able to help people understand and memorize at least the main points from the visuals. As to the use cases, diagrams and other visuals perfectly fit for describing trends, making a comparison or showing relationships between two or more items. In other words, you take your data and give it a visual comprehensible form. In this video, I'm going to show you some examples of data visualization and extract as many insights as I can from the graph. A pie chart is primarily used to illustrate how different parts make up a whole. The best way to present your data in a pie chart is to compare the categories with each other. This pie chart shows the shares of total world food consumption held by each of 7 different food types in 2014. Meat is consumed the most at 31.4%. Fish has the second highest consumption levels at 27.9%. Cereals consumption represents 11.7% of the total. Fruits' share of consumption is 10.6%, followed closely by vegetables at 10.5% and then bread at 5.5%. The smallest food group in terms of the world consumption is rice at 2.4%. The graph shows that overall global consumption is widely dispersed among the food types. No one type has a majority share. Animal-based food, meat and fish, do make up the majority of consumption when added together. It is important to note, however, that based on the information in this pie chart, no conclusions can be drawn about the dietary diversity of an individual person. Now, when you know how to describe a pie chart, what about line graphs? This type of chart converts information into points on a grid that is connected with a line to represent trends, changes, or relationship between objects, numbers, dates, and etc. These lines show movement over time affected by the increase or decrease in a key factor. The graph illustrates trends in music buying habits between 2011 and 2018. It presents 3 different methods, which are streaming, downloading, and buying CDs. Overall, both downloads and physical sales of music have steadily declined. The latter has slumped since 2011, while the downturn for the former began in 2014. However, there has been a sharp rise in people streaming music since 2013. In 2011, the majority of music sales were of CDs at 55% of all sales. In contrast, streaming was not common at all at only 5%. Although people had started to download music, it only represented 35% of sales. As sales of CDs began to fall, downloads started to rise. They rose steadily and downloads overtook physical sales in mid-2013. During the same period, streaming doubled to 10%, but then it started to grow more dramatically. Downloads peaked in 2014 at about 43% of sales, but fell to 30% by 2018. This was slightly higher than physical sales, which shrank to 25%. Streaming, on the other hand, overtook both of them and accounted for just over 40% of sales in 2018.
Those are the example of data storytelling of a pie chart and a line graph. A graph is worth whether your well-drawn graph is worth 1,000 numbers or a dozen. It will certainly be an effective way of presenting your data and demonstrating the relationships or a difference between the variables.